Now what I'm going to discuss about today is race simulations. A lot of people get this confused. Now there's a lot of games out there in the racing sim world that people seem to regard as sims. And now the two main ones on the consoles are Forza 4 and Gran Turismo 5. Both great games on each platform, but are they really a sim? No, I don't think they are. They both have aspects to them which removes them from being a proper sim. They are arcade games with sim aspects. Now the reason why they aren't a proper simulation, because they don't simulate a proper racing weekend. You want to place a proper racing sim, you need a sim that's going to simulate what a racing weekend in a proper championship is like. That is from practice, setting up your car, getting used to the road conditions, track conditions, learning the car around the track that you're driving on. Then you've got qualifying, warm up, and of course the race themselves. Sometimes there are multiple races during the weekend. And this is where Forza and also Gran Turismo fail to do. They don't simulate the racing weekend properly. They don't really simulate what a race really is. They simulate aspects of a race. They simulate the driving of a car pretty well, but they don't simulate a proper weekend, which to me means that both games are more arcade with sim elements. So they're both great games, but they've both got their flaws. Now one of the biggest flaws with Forza, for instance, is what I call the glue grass. It's when you go wide off the track and you might even just get your wheels slightly off, which means of course you're might be cutting the corner. It slows you down to basically a crawl because they want to try and stop you from cutting corners. Is that realistic? No. In real life you either do that and you either get penalised or be told to go back behind a certain car. Stuff like that is how it does in real life. That's what a simulation does. Having you slow down, basically catching you like glue, is just wrong. When you go off the track accidentally after turn 1 at Indianapolis in Forza, you can't suddenly like you hit this glue grass, or like suddenly there's a huge sand trap that's not there. In reality, if they had simulated the fact that you've gone off the grass and you've lost control, you spin, that would be more realistic. But they don't do that. They just basically do the glue glass, and that removes a lot of the sim aspects to the game. The AI, the way the AI race, again, is also not the best. And I've already spoken about in a previous video the loose rear end of Forza 4, and that's an aspect where I feel that they've got a lot wrong with the game. I just feel that the game is just too loose, and the tyre bundling's done well, and some of the physics is done quite well, but I just feel that they've just somewhere in the physics they've just done wrong. Sound is great, but not realistic. Some cars just don't sound real. They've overdone the sound. They can't make them sound. That's an area that Gran Turismo has failed in its sound department. The sound is quite poor, truthfully. Some of the cars, like a NASCAR, sounds like a bloody vacuum cleaner, and it does what it really should sound like, that deep, throaty V8 sound that we all love in a racing game. So those are aspects in that racing game that has failed. Yeah, let's just go look. But one thing both games fail to do is simulate a proper racing weekend. That's what I would love to see in Gran Turismo 6 and Forza 5, is where they actually have proper race weekends, where you qualify, not just get set up to the back of the grid and you have to race your way through. Qualify where you physically are, speed-wise. It gives you an aspect to actually work harder, make yourself faster so you can get further up the grid. That's the fun of a proper racing sim. You go and load up a proper racing sim on the PC. Games are factored with a lot of some of the good racing mods. The Race Pro series, Race On, Race 07 and stuff like that. GTR 2 and coming GTR 3 later this year. They simulate a race weekend much better. To a lesser extent, Codemasters F1 series, the F1 2011 and 12, they simulate the race weekend. So it actually gives you that feel of being there in a real race weekend, and that's what a real sim should do. It's not just about the physics and sound and the graphics, it's everything put together. That's what a simulation is. And this whole word about a game being a true sim, especially with games like Gran Turismo and Forza, are just wrong. They're arcade games with sim elements in their physics and stuff like that. The cars look great. A lot of the time the way the cars handle To me personally, I prefer the handling in Gran Turismo 5. That's just my personal preference. But at the end of the day, both games are arcade games because they don't simulate everything that's involved in motorsport, and that's what a true sim should be. That's what sims are. Used to be the word simulation was that it simulated the proper racing experience, and that's one area they just don't do so. Now, I'm going to end this video just with one aspect of sim racing which I think is completely wrong, and that's the looseness that a lot of these companies seem to do that make the cars harder to drive. But in reality, I think they're trying to do that to try and keep the lap times close to the real thing. And a lot of people, when you get the grip levels up too high, of course you go around the tracks a bit faster, and then people go, oh, it's unrealistic because you're lapping faster than they are in real life. Well, in real life, when you're driving through certain corners, you can probably go through some of them faster than what they are, but they know that there's the fear factor and there's the factor of reality that if they go through that corner too quickly and they lose control, they can have a huge crash, like Spa, the famous El Rouge, the famous El Rouge, I think that's how you say it. A lot of cars, they want to really get through there fast, and they can get through their flat chat, but they know that if they do one thing wrong, they can be dead. So that's one thing that you don't have in a simulation, and as that goes along, that means that since you don't have that fear factor, you know, if you just tiny bit wrong and crash, you sim, so you just reload again. So in reality, a sim will always be a bit quicker than what you can in real life. And this is the other area that I want to see more, and this is things that seem to be coming in newer racing sims on the PC only at the moment. And that's not just this whole thing about tyre modelling and tyre physics, which I think is a bit over exaggerated, especially they push it with Forza and with iRacing a bit. But that's only part. What I want to see more of is the dynamic tracks, how the tracks can change in conditions, not just from wet to dry, but from dirt getting on there, wear and tear, different type of rubber put down on the track. Because when like an F1 car, the start of the weekend they're a lot slower than near the end of the weekend because there's a lot more grip, because there's a lot more tyre down on the track. So that's what I would like to see in more sims in the future, is the dynamic track being done. So I'm going to end with that video with that. This video, should I say. But that's my opinion about sim racing, and how I feel that sometimes some of these racing games are overdone, people saying that they're sim, but in reality they're arcade games with sim elements. And that's what Gran Turismo 5 and the Forza 4 game and all their previous games in the Forza and the Gran Turismo series are. They are arcade games with simulation aspects, but they're not a true full-on sim. If you want a full true-on sim, you need a game that simulates the whole weekend. That's why in the video where I compared the top 5 racing sims, not arcade racing games, on the Xbox 360, that's why I actually put Race Car Pro, Race On, whatever it was on the Xbox 360. That's why I actually rated it the highest, because it simulated the whole racing experience to me the best. It simulated qualifying, practice, and the whole championship. It made you feel like you're actually in a series, not just racing in sterile races, which games like Gran Turismo and Forza do as well. So yes, I do prefer Gran Turismo 5 over Forza 4. I've never denied that, but I'm not in denial thinking that either of them are true sims. Again, I will finish it with saying Gran Turismo and Forza are arcade games with sim elements to their physics.